and thank you everyone for joining today. I'm super excited to have Charles Black and Shannon Cardwell from IBM join us here today. Charles is the Program Director for Worldwide Digital Marketing for the IBM Cloud platform. He has a strong background in digital strategy and execution and leads a team of digital and inbound strategists. Shannon Cardwell is responsible for inbound strategy, the user review program, and specializes in organic search and customer reviews, and has expertise in inbound marketing, content strategy, and social media. We've particularly enjoyed working with Shannon and Charles over the last few years because they've just done a tremendous job of pushing the curve in terms of testing and experimentation in using customer reviews in novel ways to drive very material results at IBM, and also driving change in a substantial company as well, which is obviously non-trivial. Charles and Shannon, thank you for joining me here today.
Excited to be here. Thanks, Vinay.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're going to kick off with a quick audience poll just to understand how you guys are all thinking about user reviews in your strategy.
We're going to have the poll going for just a few more seconds, so please go in and vote, please. All righty, can you guys all see the poll results?
No, it's not sharing.
All righty, I think it's sharing for everyone in the audience, but what you guys can see is that generating reviews from our customers was the #1 most challenging part at 38%. Budgeting and measuring ROI, as well as enabling sales, were the second runner-ups.
Excellent.
I will hide the results and let you guys move on.
Great. Well, it's good to hear that the idea of generating reviews is certainly something that's on your minds. We're going to be talking in depth about how to achieve that today. So the core topics we're going to be talking about today are as follows: how IBM Cloud has really developed a formula for success through getting enterprise customers on the record through a variety of mechanisms, including a very successful program with in-app asks. That accumulation of content has led to them having a higher share of voice and a higher share of audience in what are some very competitive product categories. They have done a phenomenal job of using voice of customer from reviews in their own digital properties, on their landing pages, on their kind of core web pages, and yielded some terrific results around engagement and conversion. They're also now starting to use intent data from TrustRadius to guide their sales team to create higher value ops and increase win rates, and also use content from reviews to enable their sales team with items like Battlecard. So that's the agenda for today. We're going to be covering all of those topics, and again, super excited to have such knowledgeable participants with me on the call today. So let's first talk about the idea of in-app review invitations. Shannon, this is something that you've really pioneered at IBM. Would love to hear kind of how you approach review generation through this method, perhaps how it fits into other methods that you're using as well, and some of the results that you've seen.
Yeah, of course. So this has been wildly successful for us in terms of being able to source reviews on an ongoing basis. So I think, why this has been so successful for us is because it really allows us to meet our customers where they already are. They're already in the platform, they're already in that product mindset. And so being able to surface up this ask for a review while they're in that mindset has proved very fruitful. So we use Braze for these in-app notifications, and the targeting that Braze allows has really enabled us to find those customers that are experienced. So we know that they, can provide a valuable review that's 300-400 words long, but also too that they are engaged, that they've recently been on the platform, and so it's very action based, and because of that, we've been able to really find the right audience and see a steady stream of reviews and ratings come through this tactic.
And then how does this fit into the mix? What other sort of methods have you used for review invitations outside of the in-app method?
Yeah, so outside of in-app, we're also engaging our customers just through different email nurture streams, some different sales outreach and virtual events as well. So, we're always kind of testing out new methods to be able to find those customers. And I think it's good to have a variety of ways to reach customers, but this has really been our kind of tried and true method thus far.
And the beautiful thing about this is that once you set up those parameters, I mean, you can certainly tune and optimize it, but it's set and forget, where then you get a background of review generation occurring. And again, based upon those parameters, you're really focusing in on those people who you feel can share the best insights as well, the most engaged and experienced customers. Whether you have Braze or not, there are different kind of platforms out there that can help you do this in-app review invitation method. TrustRadius also has an integration to Pendo. We've also had companies using products like WalkMe do this same strategy as well, but it's just a phenomenal strategy to, again, target the right people and encourage them to give feedback while they're actually using your application. Now, one of the benefits that you have all seen is that your audience share in a hyper-competitive category has grown 200% in just 12 months. Maybe Charles, can you talk to, how, when you evaluate a program like this, how important is it to you to kind of garner audience share? What does this mean to you to have this increased visibility on TrustRadius?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's when we look at our business, one of the key things in our world is awareness. So not just necessarily awareness of singular products, but awareness of our cloud product and cloud platform as a whole. And so cloud platform really is made up of singular products, but those singular products work together. And so anytime we can increase that share of voice, whether it be in the marketplace with advertising or through our owned properties, that's always going to be helpful, and it's always going to be something that we're looking to do and increase in an ever-growing segment. So partnering with TrustRadius in order to help us do that has really helped. And in the world we live in today, obviously, getting reviews and product ratings and understanding from specifically developers and fellow developers, it's even more than just the market share that we've seen success with. It's really kind of taking the word of respected peers that has been super helpful to us as well.
Terrific. So again, what we're seeing is that there's definitely a correlation between the focus and the effort applied to generating new reviews on TrustRadius with the ability to garner higher market share in terms of visibility within a category. So getting more page views, getting more audience is correlated to having a high quality, fresh and sustained and growing presence in terms of content. Shannon, you are focused a lot on sort of your SEO presence. A lot of the terms that buyers typically search for, whether that's reviews or product comparisons, now the content that you've sought to drive on TrustRadius is ranking typically in position 1 or two for you. How important is that to you to have this social proof rank really high for you? What sort of impact has that had on your program?
Yeah, I think this is really neat because it kind of goes back to that what we first talked about of just being able to source reviews on that ongoing basis, and this is kind of the fruit that comes from it. So the more that we are able to drive that fresh content, the more we're going to show up. And so I think this is extremely valuable because like Charles said, we're in a very competitive market, and so there's a lot of people that are not going to make it to IBM.com. They're not going to make it to our domains. And so being able to influence them, being able to capture their attention and, really become a part of their consideration set just from either their searches or, spending time on Trust Radius, that's extremely valuable to us and, ultimately brings them into, our IBM domains and we can nurture them that way.
The one thing I would add to that is obviously it's having an impact on overall SEO, but having a third party rank against a good amount of these terms as well as IBM on the same page, it provides a little bit of validity to our own ranking, and so those two things working together kind of make that SEO impact kind of exponential.
Indeed, and when I think about sort of impact on SEO, there's your social proof presence on a trusted third-party site like Trust Radius. So we rank well. IBM is well represented, has really fresh, solid content that tells the ideal product narrative from, again, those experienced and engaged customers. So you're doing a great job of influencing people who are searching on your brand. The second thing that we're experimenting with you is the idea of having star ratings flow into your own organic search engine results as well in your markup, so that when someone sees an IBM search results, they also see social proof associated with that. And then the third thing, of course, is as we rank on the product category and as people come in on category terms like best NoSQL database, etc., IBM having a strong, vibrant presence there is really important because you're catching buyers who are in market searching for a product category, but maybe haven't decided on which brands they want to look at as well. So really a trifold strategy in terms of SEO impact, and excited to see kind of the results so far. An area that you guys have pushed on really hard, and it's been just terrific to see not only the conviction in making this happen in a large company, which is non-trivial when you've got lots of stakeholders involved, but also just the experimentation approach around measuring engagement and conversion and so forth and optimizing, has been in using review syndication to improve engagement and conversion on pages. You're using our review widgets extensively on your sites. You're tuning those widgets to have the right type of content show up, but you've also done just a lot of experimentation. Shannon, would love to hear, some of the kind of key lessons that you've learned in terms of review syndication to the IBM.com digital properties.
Yeah, happy to dive in. So the pages that we're leveraging the widgets on today, people are coming in and they're trying to learn about our products. They're trying to learn about the benefits, the different use cases, but eventually we want those people to convert, right? We want them to try the product. We want them to eventually buy the product and turn that into revenue. And so what we're seeing is that with using the review widgets, people are spending a lot more time on these pages. They're spending the time to read each one of the reviews. They're consuming a lot more content. So we've seen, increased time on page. We're seeing that they're making it further down the page. Again, going back to that consuming more content, or scroll depth has increased. And then probably the biggest takeaway is, as they are going through those reviews, the widget is a carousel, and so we're seeing them engage with the widget a lot itself. And so overall, the page is receiving a lot of that engagement goodness just from that review. And so, ultimately, we're able to really positively influence and impact the people who are coming to our pages and considering our products.
And what's your hypothesis in terms of why this type of content is having this type of impact on engagement?
Yeah, so I think, you know, anytime that we make a claim, we say that, you know, our product has certain strengths and there's pros about it, it's going to be so much more valuable to come from our customers than it is going to be to come directly from us. And so being able to, you know, put forth those differentiators into the market, but in the voice of our customers has been extremely valuable. I think especially too when you look at the wide array of reviews coming from different industries, coming from different company sizes, from people in different professional roles, the people who are reading those reviews are most likely able to find someone who's very similar to them and into their unique use case. And so, you know, it's that much more influential to say, okay, if, you know, this company is just like mine, did this, then we can do it too. And I'm going to trust the validity of what's being said about this product that much more.
And one of the things to add is, you know, with our targets and our customers and our audiences, you know, they're very much, you know, whether it be individual practitioners or enterprises, there's a general sense, you know, in our field of don't show me, don't tell me, prove it to me. And so this helps us a lot with that. You know, we can claim, you know, the moon all we want. But if we can't prove it to people, you know, that's a hard thing for us. And so this helps with that a lot, being able to take the words of our customers and say, listen, we're backing up our claims around what we're saying, and our customers will tell you the same.
Oftentimes companies do experiment with sort of marketing generated static quotes on a web page, and they have an impact on conversion too. When you delineate that approach versus using the Trust Radius widget, what do you believe are the differences and the advantages of using kind of a third-party widget? Is it just the scale in terms of the number of quotes, or is it something else as well that kind of creates increased conversion?
Yeah, I think it definitely goes to your first point of the scale, the number of quotes, and the kind of wide array of things that are able to be said using that widget. I think that learning kind of comes from, you know, we have a lot of big client logos on a lot of our pages, and we use those in tandem with, you know, the static quotes like you just mentioned, and we've seen lots more engagement with the Trust Radius widget than we have with some of those really big name brands. And so I think there's a lot of value in the quantity and the quality that the widget, the Trust Radius widget, enables us to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is, I think one is buyers need to find someone they can relate to, and any given logo or static quote may not be directly relatable to them. And so the idea of a carousel that they can scroll through and find people that they may relate to is really helpful. And certainly in your heat maps, you see that there's a lot of activity in terms of people clicking on the carousel to see more and more quotes. But I also think a factor is the fact that it's coming from a third party, and that it feels less like pure kind of curated marketing quotes and more kind of sound bites from the voice of the customer coming from a third-party source. We, in some of our experiments we've seen with other companies, have seen that a widget does definitively perform better than just static quotes that a marketing team gathers and puts onto a page. Again, I think it's for those two factors. One of the other things that you guys have done is experiment with just the form factor of the widget, and also have measured not just engagement, but impact on actual conversion to trial, conversion to order as well. You've seen some really pretty phenomenal results in this area. Would love to just hear, you know, how you've approached these tests and some of the insights you've garnered.
Yeah, so our original design of the widget, the first that we implemented, is the white design that you see here on the left. And so we kind of did a redesign, which is the dark version that you see on the right side. And it was both a dark version, but also was just a little bit more in line with the design of our pages, with our brand guidelines. So just overall was a little bit more consistent looking. And because of that, we had a lot more ability to do testing in terms of placement on the page and being able to use it in conjunction with the main CTAs of a lot of these pages, the CTAs for converting users. And so as a result, we saw a very large increase in conversion when doing this. And because of that, we are now going to be implementing the new design across the board, continuing to iterate on it and really capitalize on the user behavior data that we see, a lot of the click data. But overall, really happy with the results that came out of this test, and are definitely going to be doing a lot more testing like this for the rest of the year.
And the other thing that this fits in well with is, especially with our audiences, you know, strangely enough, the increase in the use of dark mode can really impact the design and usability of a page. And we've seen that, you know, different versions of this perform differently based on browser modes as well. And so kind of understanding who your audience is and what fits the page and the eye the best has been certainly a very eye-opening experience going through all these tests. And so we kind of had to take in outside sources of it as well too.
Awesome. Really, really terrific. And I think you're the first company I've seen actually do a dark mode test like this. So kudos on your innovation and certainly the results that you're achieving in this area. Another area that is pretty hot right now is the idea around experimenting with intent data. There are different forms of intent data. At TrustRadius, we have data that we consider true intent because it's down funnel when someone is actually reading reviews about a product or comparing products side by side, which we think is a very strong indicator of intent versus maybe searching on a term or clicking on an ad, which are traditional forms of intent. We do believe that multiple forms of intent are useful to piece together to create an overall picture. But would love to hear about, again, how the IBM Cloud team is using the intent data provided by TrustRadius, some of the insights that you're seeing so far.
Yeah, so I think that this intent data is a really big deal for our sellers because it tells them what conversation to have with a prospect. You know, I think in terms of the content to lead with and the story to lead with, content is always plenty. There's always enough of that to go around, and they know how to sell the products. But this really tells them what they should lead with and that conversation, what that conversation should be focused on. So, you know, obviously that's extremely valuable from a prospecting perspective, but even from a existing customer perspective too, you know, this allows us to see opportunities for expansion or even customers that might be at risk of leaving. And so being able to enable our teams with this kind of intelligence has been extremely valuable.
Yeah, and I think and I could say this on pretty much every slide. You know, one of the big takeaways from my perspective is our ability to provide tools to our sellers, which has been as impactful, if not the most impactful thing across the board. And in an organization like ours, you know, you need champions across the board for what you're doing. But more than anything, if we can get our sellers kind of craving this content and craving these tools, you know, they're going to be shouting from the mountaintops more than any other group you're going to have. So if you can get the support from the sellers in an organization like this, you know, sky's the limit, because if they find it useful, they're going to use it and they're going to want more of it. And so, you know, we talk about kind of selling the sellers on things. You know, they're not going to react to things that don't work for them. You know, they're not going to give you much time when things don't work for them. They're not very patient, and that's okay. But, you know, if you can get the sellers buying into what you're doing and craving it and asking for it and asking their executives, how do I get more of this? You know, we've seen a huge uptick in that, which has been a huge benefit to the program.
Yeah, there was a question, I guess, sort of inferred in the poll about how do you kind of create the business case and budget for a review program? I mean, clearly we're talking about multiple layers of value here, but having the sales team demand what you're producing, whether that's data, whether that's content, whether that's a stronger online reputation and share of voice, is clearly a forcing function in helping you as marketers command more support and more budget for your program. So Charles's point about really getting the sales team fired up about the potential of a program is huge. You know, emotionally, what sort of reaction has this data caused in the sales team? We'll talk to the metrics in a second, but would love to just hear if you have any anecdotes or stories or just reactions, emotional reactions you've had from sales about this intent data.
So Shannon might have some of the exact quotes. I'll answer it more at a high level. And, you know, we have, for example, a presentation that we show to a lot of people internally about what we're doing, how it's going, results we're seeing. And oftentimes that leads off with a slide of quotes from the sellers about, you know, their feelings on it. And some of them are just amazing to hear. But, you know, the good thing for us is that list of quotes just continues to grow.
Awesome. Shannon, is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of sales reaction?
No, I think Charles said it for the most part. I think the most prominent really quote that I've heard directly from sellers is kind of the one I used earlier of just, this tells us what conversation to have. You know, this tells us how to best reach and resonate with that prospect that we're talking to.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So when we think about this type of intent data, it's really intent plus intelligence. So number one, you know, sources like Bombora can give you interest in a category at a very high level if people are searching on brand terms. But TrustRadius True Intent data is much more, again, low funnel when someone's actually in a purchasing cycle, reading reviews, comparing products. But because we're able to tell you exactly which brands are being researched, are they spending more time with you or more time with a competitor? Are they all over the place in terms of their search pattern? It can really help a seller, whether they're an SDR reaching out to a net new prospect, or whether they're an AE working a current deal where maybe you don't know exactly how you're doing or who you're up against, or even a customer success manager, account manager who's trying to grow or retain an account, have a great deal of intelligence as to who you need to position against or frankly deposition as well. So that intelligence is extremely, extremely valuable. I often joke about the Tom Cruise movie, The Minority Report. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they have this notion of precogs, people who can see the future and predict crimes before they occur. And I think this in many ways is analogous in that we can predict sales cycles and pipeline and help brands engage in a way that's to their advantage to position themselves most effectively against their competition. Tell us a little bit about how you're actually ingesting this data and routing this data and optimizing this data, because this is a new area that's so fresh and burgeoning for so many companies. A lot of companies are struggling with how do we actually operationalize intent data?
Yeah, so today we started leveraging this data, I think the end of Q1 of this year. And so we've enabled our sellers, this goes right into the CRM systems that they're using to track opportunities. And so what we did is link the intelligence to existing opportunities. And since doing that, we've seen not only the number of linked accounts grow, but we've also seen the value in terms of deal size of those grow, as well as the quality. So kind of, you know, Vinay, to your earlier point, it enables the sellers to know how to prioritize the opportunities they have before them because of this type of intelligence. And you know, I think there's a few reasons why we think these insights are happening. One is these folks are showing, you know, a higher propensity to buy because they are spending the time researching the different products, they're researching the alternatives, they're trying to do a lot of information gathering. While they are doing that, they're also researching more products and products that are complementary and can be used in conjunction. And so the deal size has also gone up as well as a result.
That's fantastic. And again, kudos on the phenomenal early results you're seeing around deal size, disqualification rate, conversion rates, and again, overall deal value as a result of putting this data to good use to arm your sellers. Speaking of arming your sellers, a big area of innovation at IBM Cloud has been taking the phenomenal content you're driving on TrustRadius and then feeding it to your sales team through your Seismic sales content platform. You've done some tremendous work connecting those systems and feeding that content directly to sales. Would love to hear again how that's working. What are some of the key insights that you've had and the reaction from the sales team?
Yeah, so we're really excited about this one. So basically what we've done is, we've spent so much time and effort gathering the reviews, and we know that it's only going to see its full value, its full impact if we actually are able to deliver all of that really insightful content from our customers to our sellers. And we want to make that as easy of a process as possible, right? So what we've done is basically integrated all of the reviews that are on TrustRadius into the software that our sellers use, so that they are able to generate content. They're able to generate the most valuable assets for them based on what kind of conversations they're having with their prospects. And they're able to do this in real time. And so what you see on the right side of the screen here is what is called a live form. And so as a seller, you're able to go in and make a bunch of selections based on what you need at that moment. So you can choose your product, you can choose the different topics, the different subject matter areas that you really want to be able to discuss. And then you also have the option to filter by company size and by industry. If you need a really granular use case, you have a very niche market, you are able to do that. And so as a result, after you've made those different selections, you're able to generate that asset in real time in a matter of 30 seconds, which I think we have on the next slide if you want to jump over to that one. Yeah, there we go. So this is generated in a matter of about 30 seconds. There's no need to wait on any other teams to be able to create this kind of content, and all of the selections that you made are populated in each one of these cells. And so the different topic areas are obviously in the blue boxes on the left-hand side of this card, but each one of the cells is a quote from a different review, again, from a variety of company sizes, a variety of industries. We have the link to the full review for that full context if it's needed. And so this, the seller is able to do this dynamically so that it's going to be the most valuable asset for them in that next client conversation. And so we've heard really great responses from our sellers. We've done a lot of enablement, a lot of demos for our different sales groups, and they're all really excited because this allows them to filter to very specific use cases that they have at the moment. Customer stories are always extremely valuable, bringing in that third-party view. And then also this has enabled us to be able to tell the why IBM story, why IBM over our main competitors at a product level, which has been extremely valuable as well.
Awesome, fantastic work in this area. Really exciting to see just how seamlessly it's all working, and again, the type of content and ammunition you're able to provide your sales team. Charles, maybe could you talk to again the benefits of really for your program overall when you're able to create this type of power for your sales team, whether that's intelligence and intent to guide them to have the right conversations, or whether it's content to help them be more effective at positioning your products or positioning against competitors, etc. Again, how's that helped you as sort of the leader, as your function, gain more support to do what you want to do, the experiments that you want to run, the projects that you want to fund, having the sales team kind of really rally for you? Charles, you might be on mute.
I'm sorry. Thank you for that. It's a good question, and from a content perspective, obviously the sellers really like this, but these are also things that we can use across the board from a content perspective to one, get voice of customer, but two, understand and talk to various use cases, as Shannon mentioned, and in this space, use cases of our clients are changing drastically every day. There's always different use cases. Everybody's using all of these tools for many different things, all these different services. And so being able to kind of pull that stuff together in a central place and do it quickly through the integration we have with Seismic is hugely important. As we go to market with products, individual products and services, it's basically impossible for us to speak to every different use case and every different user. And so this is a way for us to kind of bring a lot of that stuff to the table. And so it helps us just from a general market standpoint, understand as well, people, the customers that are talking to us about these things, what are they talking about? How are they using it? We have a general idea of how the users are using our products and services, but if we can use things like this to show, that things might be changing a bit, it helps us from a marketing perspective, one, understand where we need to be investing, but two, and probably more importantly, is what are our customers and potential customers looking for? What are they looking for us to solve for them, and helps us understand how we can help them.
That's an awesome insight. Again, the scale obviously matters, right? So when you do have a product that can serve multiple use cases, the scale of stories that then can demonstrate your support and validity in all of those use cases, all of the industries that you support, company sizes and geos becomes really important. So scale does matter a great deal, as well as connecting systems to make it a fluid and seamless experience for your sellers to be able to access this content. You've also done a great job of incorporating content in other elements of the buyer's journey or other elements of your kind of nurture process. Can you talk to how else you're using the content along the journey?
Yeah, so I think this is just further confirmation that anything said in the voice of our customer is going to be more influential and more impactful than what we can write ourselves. And so whether we are continuing to try and nurture a customer along from trial to being a paid customer, or maybe they're a paid customer, but we're encouraging them to do more on the platform and engage with more products, being able to use the voice of the customer and reviews, whether it's at a broad level, hear what our customers are saying, or whether it's, specific quotes, like you see the Kubernetes quote here. That's going to be, extremely efficient in being able to help impact users and convert more.
Fantastic. And so just to summarize, over the period of working together, we've now had more than 380 customers go on the record. About 30,000 customers have been engaged in-app in order to encourage them to contribute ratings and reviews. From those 380 customers who've written reviews, you've garnered about 2,500 quotes that you're able to now feed to your digital properties for engagement and syndication, to use in collateral, to enable your sales team through Seismic, to use in social campaigns, etc. And obviously garnered a strong audience that you've had influence over as well. So when we think again about budgeting for review programs, unfortunately there is no one simple line item that says here is the one KPI to focus on that translates to business value. The truth is it's much more complicated and holistic like than that. There's a strong influence component and an audience share and a brand component. There's a content marketing aspect to it. there's a sales enablement and sales effectiveness angle to this as well, whether that's through intent data or through content that you're arming them with. And there's a customer insight aspect to this as well. We didn't really touch on it so much in this presentation today because we were really focused on the marketing and the sales enablement aspects, but you've obviously driven a lot of high quality reviews. Has it been beneficial from a customer insight perspective as well, getting closer to your customers, understanding more of their needs, maybe even influencing roadmap?
Yes, I think there's a lot of value props for our product owners, kind of like Charles said earlier, and understanding how the products are being used, because that is changing every single day. And so very insightful for the future of the products, like you said, and then also just from an enhancement standpoint too. You know, we get some pretty technical feedback, both positive and negative, and that's extremely valuable too for the future development of our products.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. And we didn't talk about it much here, but you know, we have actually seen some cases where we can impact actual product design based on some of the things that we're hearing from customers, whether it be things that they want or ways that they're using the product that it wasn't necessarily intended to do. And so we're able to, you know, we've talked about the impact on our sales group, but our offering group, product group as well, is a group that's starting to really kind of take hold of some of the feedback from customers and see how that changes their roadmap and features and functionality that we're building into products.
Awesome. You know, I really think in the last 5 years we've seen a maturing in terms of how we think about customer reviews in go-to-market and in terms of helping drive forward companies. You know, the first wave was really about having a social presence, impacting SEO, making sure that you would show up correctly on a review site, or you know, the couple of review sites that matter. Certainly that's important, and I think what we've learned from this particular story with IBM is that that's important, but you want to do it with quality. You want to make sure the reviews are from people who are engaged and experienced. You don't want to do just a one-time campaign and then have reviews that go stale and no longer represent your current narrative. The in-app approach allows us to have a continuous stream of reviews that continue to tell your latest and greatest narrative. Scale matters because that then allows buyers to find people they can relate to, use cases that they can relate to, you know, people who have the same type of industry or company size, demographics that they can relate to. The second kind of wave of innovation has really been about using content and data from review platforms like TrustRadius in your own channels. And again, IBM has proven that using customer voice content from TrustRadius that's really raw and authentic. Yes, they can curate it, but the fact that it's voluminous at scale, it can appear in a carousel, a review widget where buyers can find people they can relate to, they can pattern match with, it feels credible, it feels trusting, has created great efficiencies in terms of on-site engagement, in terms of conversion to trial, conversion to paying customer, and that really being strategic about how to use that content both in digital, in nurture campaigns, and enabling sales is really, really important. Of course, the intent data area is really an interesting piece of this mix as well, where while it's a more burgeoning industry, there's real value in being able to provide high quality, true intent to sellers to help them focus on the best high quality opportunities, to separate the signal from the noise, and to arm them with the intelligence about who they're competing against to help them position as effectively as possible. And when you do things to really enable the sales team, either with intelligence and data or content, you'll get a lot more pull and support for this project inside your own company. So there's a beautiful virtual loop that's created when you feed content and data to sales, and they become your biggest advocates internally to help you build out a program and scale a program. And then really the final stage of maturity is where companies really have, again, a continuous review sourcing strategy. Don't view it as just episodic, and then use these insights to actually drive product roadmaps. They use these insights to become closer to their customers. So I just think the team at IBM Cloud, Shannon and Charles, have just done a phenomenal job building out a very robust program in a relatively short period of time at a large, complex company. So enormous kudos to you for everything that you have done. At this point, happy to take questions. I know that we've had pretty robust conversation already, but if there are any questions in the remaining minutes, we'd be happy to take them at this time.
Awesome. Thank you, Vinay and Shannon and Charles. We've got a couple of questions that have come through, but please do use the question feature to add any additional ones that you may have. If we don't get to them in this session, we will definitely personally follow up. One of the first questions that came up that I thought was really, really great is, this is for IBM, along the lines of, when starting your review program, what made you choose TrustRadius, versus some of the other options?
That's a good question. I mean, it's one of those things where we had IBM as a whole had an existing smaller relationship with TrustRadius, and we have relationships with other third-party review sites as well. I think to us, this is a lot about how we can work together. With working with you guys, we've been able to develop some tools and some approaches to things that, I'll be honest, I don't know if we could with other companies. So a lot of it has to do with just being open to the idea of, where can we go next? What can we do? We know that driving reviews in general is very important to us. So then it's that next layer of, what can we do together to really make this powerful for both us and our users as well. So to us, it had a lot to do with just flexibility and the need or the want to kind of innovate, really. And we've seen a lot of that in this deck. And to me, that was kind of the tipping point for us, which is just the willingness and openness to, let's just go try some new stuff and let's go innovate on a lot of this stuff and see where it takes us.
Awesome, thank you. We have, go for it, Shannon.
I just wanted to expand a little bit more on that too. I think it was very clear from the beginning how much value there is in just the depth of reviews. I mean, I know that's a widely known differentiator for you guys, but I think, everything that we just talked about in the deck is made possible because those reviews are so lengthy and so in depth. And so there's so many more use cases brought forth because of that.
Phenomenal.
Awesome.
Thank you. And, from my vantage point, I will say we love working with companies and individuals like yourselves who are innovative and like to push the curve. Helps us become a better company as well.
Love that. We had another question for IBM that I think is a really, really great one as well, is do you have any advice around expanding your review program internally to include other teams or to work cross-functionally? I know in the presentation you guys have all talked a little bit about, partnering with sales, but we'd love to get your thoughts on that, promoting and expanding internally.
Yeah, I'll jump in before Shannon does, mostly because Shannon has done all of the heavy lifting on this. We call it kind of a road show. There's a bunch of different teams and a lot of different people that we need to get involved with this. But this is general marketing, right? It's showing the value that a program can bring to different teams and different roles. And so I say Shannon has kind of roadshowed this to anybody who will listen. And oftentimes to some people that don't want to listen. She's very persistent about that. Like I said, it always helps when your sellers are clamoring for it. And and so there's kind of two parts of it, of just generally creating the awareness within the company of what you're doing and the results you're having. And at a company like IBM, where we're very, very data driven, anytime we can show numbers around how it's helped us, whether depending on what your KPI is, that's always going to be beneficial. And so one of the things that we started to see after a while is we started hearing about people asking others about it, that outside of our team. And it was very easy for us to kind of jump on that and say, okay, well, let's go walk you through what we're doing. It's kind of like the old water cooler, but if you start showing some results and showing some progress, a lot of people are going to want to see what you're doing. And I'll say it again, but the moment you can get your sales team to be shouting from the mountaintops about it as well, is hugely beneficial.
Yeah, yep. And I would just add, I think for us, it was really important to get a lot of success stories in place just for what we're trying to do in cloud, and not just in one part of a review program, not just in the SEO piece or not just in the digital piece, but in every single step of our digital funnel, of our digital journey. And so we're finally at a place where we're able to show that kind of, full funnel story and show the impact and show the data that backs it up. To where we're kind of in a place where we can start focusing on growing this across outside of just cloud and outside of what we've done today.
Awesome. I think we have time for one more question, and it's a little bit broader, but what is IBM doing in terms of developing and experimenting with stuff new? Like what's next?
That's a tough one. I don't know what we can really tell you.
I mean, if it's super secret, we totally understand.
No, I mean, I think at this point we're in a mode sort of we've got kind of our key tent poles of this program in place, and right now we're in a lot of kind of testing and optimization that goes on, and so it's understanding best how to use each of these pieces together. And iterating, and it's about iterating quickly. I think we've got some things that we have on the roadmap for next year, which could be big. And this comes back to the idea of working with Trust Radius to understand where we're going next. We've got some ideas of some things to do that are going to be more global, and so we're really looking to kind of slowly roll a lot of that stuff out to make sure that what we're rolling out is optimized. So we're in that kind of testing and optimization phase, as well as the always on continuation of doing whatever we can to increase the reviews that we do have and quality of.
Awesome. Well, Shannon and Charles, thank you so much for generously sharing your insights today, and kudos again for the amazing work that you've done so far. We're excited to be your partners on this journey together, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Absolutely, thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks, Vinay. You guys are easy to work with. It's been a great partnership thus far, so we owe a lot of our success to you guys.
Thank you. That's so kind of you to say.